Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer. I am here at Levi Stadium where today the 49ers had day 7 of training camp, wrapping up practice about 3 hours ago. Had the press conferences, just got my article up for the Press Democrat. Check that out at 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. But let's go ahead, let's get into practice today. We had a surprise. Brock Purdy took the field today in San Francisco. We weren't expecting that last week when we were here speaking with Kyle Shanahan. He said that we could expect to see Brock Purdy miss the first day back of each session and then practice for 2 days straight. Well, came into Santa Clara today not expecting to see Brock Purdy, expected to see a lot of Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, but instead, Brock Purdy was on the field, and we'll get into his day. Trey Lance and Sam Darnold had decent days as well. We'll get into all three of those. We'll get into some of the injuries that are starting to affect the 49ers. A lot of injuries along the offensive line. No Trent Williams, not because of injury. A vet day for Trent Williams at left tackle, but at left guard, Aaron Banks down with a concussion. He's in the concussion protocol. He was replaced today in the starting lineup in that first group by Jason Poe at left guard. A lot of people talking about Jason Poe as a guy who um, has, he was one of those guys. A lot of people talked about him last year, ended up going undrafted, a heck of an athlete. And we'll talk about his day at left guard today, working with the ones. We also had Leroy Watson take over at left tackle. There was no Jalen Moore. He's out with an injury due to the according. He went down on Tuesday, according to Kyle Shanahan. He has a knee bruise, nothing too serious. Expect him to be out for about a week. That's Jalen Moore. So let's go ahead. Let's get into the quarterbacks. So I know that's what everybody wants to start off with at the beginning of the day. And real quick, just to shout this one out, Michael says Jack is back. You got that right. We're here all throughout training camp. Not going to miss a day, whether it's here at Levi Stadium or out next week in Las Vegas. I will be at every 49ers practice during this training camp. And it was an interesting one today. Like I said, Brock Purdy was on the field. We weren't expecting to see Brock Purdy. He had over that first week of camp. He did not compete or participate in the first practice following a day off at all. That changed today. He stepped in. And also of note, it was his first day without Christian McCaffrey, no George Kittle, no Trent Williams. If you've paid attention to the YouTube uh, stuff at all this offseason, one of the things you probably heard a lot about was how Brock Purdy's performance was really due to Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. That's really how a lot of people tried to knock him down as far as the numbers that he put up. Well, today, without Christian McCaffrey, without George Kittle, Trent Williams not playing left tackle, Aaron Banks not playing left guard, Brock Purdy went out and he finished his day 7 of 10. Now, let's get through all of the performance from today because it wasn't all perfect for Brock Purdy. There was some really good stuff and there was some bad stuff. So let's talk about all of that, right? And it opens up first play of the day, and it was a bad miss for Purdy. It was a play action, tried to get it out to the right side to Deebo Samuel on the right sideline. It was a deep out type of route. He just sailed it out there. The ball sailed high and wide, incompletion. But from there, Purdy bounced back and, so missed the first throw. So what do you do from there? And then he goes 5 straight throws with completions. One of the things that we talked a lot about this offseason when it comes to Brock Purdy and the good things that he did was his ability to deliver in that intermediate 10 to 19-yard area. There's been a lot of talk about deep balls, right? Those throws beyond 20 yards, those deep shots. When you start to look through the NFL, those deep shots, those passes that go beyond 20 yards, those take up about 15, maybe at max about 18% of a quarterback's throws. The majority of their throws are going to come from that 19 yards in. And Brock Purdy, especially in that 10 to 19 yards, kind of stretching that out a little bit, was exceptional last year, over 80% in his completions. We've seen that carry over in the training camp. He's been very good in that area. Today, he showed excellent timing with a connection to Brandon Ayuk over the middle, hitting the receiver in stride just as he cleared the underneath linebacker. This was a really nice throw from my vantage point. Hit his back foot, and he let that thing go early. And the linebacker as soon as Ayuk started to clear, the ball was in his hands. The linebacker's diving for it, just barely misses him right into the hands of Ayuk for a really nice gain there. They come back a few plays after that, and he hits Juwan Jennings on a dig route right to left. It was a play action. Another big chunk play for Brock Purdy. So good stuff there. In between, if we look at the other plays that took place around these 2 throws, there was a little screen out to Jordan Mason, really nice catch and run. really nice cut by Jordan Mason for a nice gain there. And then you also had a throw to Brandon Ayuk on a little in route from the left side. So those were four of the completions in a row. Then you get into the 49ers today. We're working on short yardage situations, so third and short. And in that third and short situation, one of the things another thing Purdy struggled with this offseason is he's coming back. One of the things he hasn't been so hot at is throwing on the move. He was pretty good last year throwing on the move, but he missed a throw in the red zone on Tuesday. That would have been a touchdown. On the move, he had a near interception while moving to his right, both of those while moving to his right. Today, in this 3rd and 2 situation, play action, rolling out to his left, got the ball to Ross Dwelley. The tight end caught it in the left flat, picks up the first down. So a nice conversion of that situation for Ross Dwelley. You really got to like that there. And then, like I said, overall, you look at his day, they got into a move the ball period. And let's get into that a little bit because, I think that Brock Purdy today was the best quarterback on the field. And he's been out there 5 days. And of the 5, the only day that he wasn't was his first when he went 3 of 10. The rest of the way through, he has been the best quarterback on the field. And today he struggled a little bit at times. They got into a move the ball period. They only did one series of it. And the first play, Purdy gets up under center and he starts to fall back and the ball's a fumble, but it's a false start because he's moving first. So gets a break on the false start. That was the correct call, but that was a mistake there. Then after that, the offense started to move the ball a little bit. They were able to actually pick up a first down. It was 1st and 15. He had a really bad throw on an incompletion to Brandon Ayuk. That's not a good one either. Just a bad miss there on a throw over the middle. Then after that, a nice check down though to it was 3rd and 10 and a nice little check down from Purdy to Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason making a really nice play, making a couple defenders miss, gains 11. So 3rd and 10, nice little trying to work deep. It's covered, checks it down to Jordan Mason. They pick up the first down. Then from there, on a 2nd and 7 situation, had a nice completion to Brandon Ayuk for about, I think it would have picked up the first down, 6-7 yards, right around that range. But then at the end, the last play, they were facing 3rd and 4. And it was just a bad throw. He had Deebo Samuel going down the right sideline. Deebo working against Samuel Womack had beat Womack. Womack was in good position. He was right on Samuel's hip. But in NFL terms, this is an open receiver because you just got to get the ball up and over. You get the ball right here, and Deebo Samuel's got a big completion down the right sideline. Instead, the ball comes up it's underthrown, so Samuel has to slow down. It becomes a contested throw. Womack comes away with a pass breakup, and that's just a tough one. And it wasn't like that was a deep shot. That was about it's a go ball down the right sideline, but it's also a quick one. So it's only about 30 yards down the field. That's not one that should be underthrown the way that Purdy did there. His timing may be off. I know he mentioned that a little bit last week when he missed a couple of balls down the right sideline. This is something that they need to get better on. He definitely needs to improve on. But you go back and you look at the day overall, 7 of 10, not a bad day for Brock Purdy. Just continues to stack days. He just continues to build. He continues to be the best quarterback on the field. And I think what the other thing is he just continues to be the most consistent quarterback on the field. I think that's the other part with Brock Purdy. So not a perfect day by any means, but it was an effective day, I think. It was also the shortest day of these next 3 days. Kyle Shanahan talked about that. Today is going to be a short day. Tomorrow will be the biggest day, and then they'll have a kind of a middle day on Saturday. So today was the lightest. Only 10 throws for Brock Purdy. Only 8 for Trey Lance. I think there was only 6 or 8. Actually, it was 8. I think was the number for Sam Darnold as well. We didn't see any of Brandon Allen, so we'll get into that as we go along. Let me pull up the show really quick, see if there's any questions in the comment. 70%, how is that bad for a quarterback? Well, Picky, that is, Michael Miller puts that out. And Michael, like I said, I just went through the numbers. I don't know about anybody else. I don't know where that's coming from. If somebody else has said that's bad, I didn't consider it a bad day at all. I thought it was a good day. I thought he's, again, the best, like I said, the best quarterback on the field. As far as that coming from somebody else, I'm not sure where that's coming. He just needs to, when it comes to Purdy, he's been solid. And I think right now it's at a position where we kind of need to get him into a game. That's probably not going to happen until the second week of the preseason. Really, what we need to see is we need to see Brock Purdy in Las Vegas. against the Raiders defense instead of the 49ers defense, and let that play out. So we'll see the direction that goes. But it was a good day overall. Like I said, for Brock Purdy, again, I feel like he was the best quarterback on the field. This was his 5th practice now of training camp, and with the exception of his first, I feel like he has been the best out there. So that's it for Purdy's day. Again, 7 of 10 overall. AW, thank you very much for the super chat. $10 doesn't have a comment. If you have a comment you want to throw in there too, go ahead and respond. Send that in, and I'll get to it. Let's get into Trey Lance's day, because this was you look at Trey Lance's numbers and you look at it, and it's 5 of 8 overall. The numbers don't look good. 5 of 8, interception, his first of training camp, second of the offseason. But I felt like it was a solid day overall. He's been solid throughout. He had a couple of down days on days 2 and 3, but other than those 2 days, Trey Lance has been fairly consistent, and that's a really good thing for him. He opened the day up. He rifled a pass over the middle to Willie Snead off of play action. Just a really nice ball. This was the second time in camp that we've seen a throw from Lance over the middle. I think it's actually even the second time this week where we've seen a throw from him over the middle that, as you could hear, hit his receiver in the shoulder pads. I mean, the thing hit Snead, and you could hear it hit off of his shoulder pads. They make the reception, but the ball from Lance was just a dart. That was a thing of beauty. And the next throw, I think, was his best of the day. Might have been the best ball we saw on the field all day in terms of just the way the ball looked coming out of his hand and getting to the receiver. Lance got to the top of his drop, and he laid the ball perfectly into Tate Martin along the right sideline. Martin running a deep out. And this is a ball that Lance has struggled with in the past. Last year, he really, really struggled with hitting that deep out route. And he has been nails with that thing throughout camp. The improvement of Lance on throws like this cannot be emphasized enough. It's just he's getting to the back of his drop, and he put that thing out there, and it's just got it's just a really pretty easy ball. It's got good tempo on it, but it has it's not a rocket at the same time. It's a nice, easy, catchable ball, something we haven't really talked about much before with Trey Lance. So from that standpoint, those first couple of throws, just really good stuff. Then you had a couple of short throws. One of them was a completion on a screen. The other was an incompletion. It was the first incompletion of the day. The incompletion was a throw to Braden Willis. Lance had gotten to the top of his drop. He got a little bit of pressure from his left side, and I think that's where the incompletion came from. I don't think he was ready to throw it, but the pressure kind of got on him a little too soon, and he had to get the ball. It was just kind of got caught in between. Incompletion, not a big deal. Ball hit the ground. They would have gone on to the next play, all that kind of stuff. Then you go into the situational work that we talked about earlier. The 49ers today focusing on 3rd and short, 3rd and 2 in particular. On that one, really nice connection from Lance to Brandon Ayuk on a short curl. On this play, I don't remember the alignment, but basically Ayuk ends up running just a little short curl. Just it's not a wide one, but it's kind of a little bit more of an inside curl type of route off of play action. Get it into him, and they pick up the first down, move the sticks. Really nice play from Trey Lance there as well. So, at this point, we're looking at a pretty solid day, right? And then it gets kind of a little wonky. Then you get into the move the ball period, and that's where the mistake comes in from Lance. First play of that, the 49ers are running a high-low concept. Kyle Shanahan told us this after practice. We asked him about the interception because there was an interception here from Lance. And what happened was he had a high-low. He had a guy running a deep middle route coming over the middle. He had another receiver underneath that for the check down type of a throw. And he decided that he wanted to take the shot down the field, and the linebacker had gotten too much depth, and the linebacker was able to get up and snag it. First play of team ends up for Lance there, and that move the ball ends up in an interception. But it's one of those where he's taking that shot down the field, trying to be aggressive. The dropping linebacker, like I said, just gets too much depth. And Kyle Shanahan said in the media, that's a throw where he needs to take the check down. He's just trying to get that thing down the field a little bit too much. Maybe trying to see if he could fit it in there. It didn't work out. Got to take that check down. Keep the offense moving. Hit it. Keep your offense in rhythm going to the next play kind of thing. He rebounded from that. A couple of plays later, he connected with Braden Willis, the rookie tight end, on a short throw while rolling to his left off the play action. That set up a 3rd a third and what was it? A 3rd and 3 situation. So then facing 3rd and 3, Lance play action tries to route to his right this time. Pressure, and Willis hadn't really been able to get into his route enough, and so Lance was forced to ground it and throw it into the ground at Willis's feet. So you look at today, 5 of 8. You have the one incompletion off of pressure. The second one is more of a throwaway. At least that last one was. And you have the pick. So for the most part, you look at Trey Lance's day, you look at the numbers 5 of 8, but then you look at the incompletions, and other than the one where he's got a little bit of pressure, and I just don't think he was ready to throw it. I felt like he was pretty good. That one and the interception; those are 2 bad ones. The other 6 balls that he threw, not bad. That's just the way football works. You're not going to hit every one of them. So I felt like Trey Lance was pretty solid today as well. As the let's see what else we got. Yeah, we've known that Trey Lance. We should have known that Trey Lance is the real deal since the 49ers said that he's a leader in the clubhouse. Since Kyle Shanahan went on the podcast on The Athletic with Tim Kawakami and talked in glowing terms about everything that Brock Purdy did last year and how well he played, and a lot of different things along those lines. So good stuff there. Let's see what else we've got. I know. I see you. I see you there. Let's get to this one because he's asked the question a couple times. My guy Gav, he wants to know about the jackhammer, the fullback, Jack Coletto. He's asking if I'm sure that Juice won't be a cap casualty. No, Juszczyk's going to be on this football team. The Flyers don't have a need to move off of any of these guys right now. Kyle Juszczyk will be here. Jack Coletto, I thought it was interesting. He got some work early on in team. That was good to see. He's really coming along. Kyle Juszczyk, they talked to him after practice. He came to the podium. He spoke for a long time. The amount of time that Kyle Juszczyk was at the podium today was kind of like what you usually see with quarterbacks. He was there for a long time. He was asked about Coletto, asked about how he's sharing information with the younger guy. Talked a little bit about how that can be tricky, especially when you're in your 11th year and this guy's coming to take your job and all those kind of things. But it sounds like they have a good relationship, and it sounds like Kyle Juszczyk really likes Jack Coletto. Talked about how Coletto is a really smart guy, and that according to Kyle Juszczyk, what he said is that Jack Coletto is one of the more impressive rookies in terms of understanding the playbook. That's what Kyle Juszczyk said about Jack Coletto today. So there you go, Gav. I tried to get a little bit of video. I didn't really get much on the running backs. I'll get some of that tomorrow for you and get that up on the channel in the coming days. So keep your eyes peeled on that one. There was a new signing. The 49ers making a move. Let me get to that really quick. Just give me a second. I will pull up the information for you all there. It's one of those things, this is kind of a back end of the roster type of move. So it's really not probably a big deal overall. But so what the 49ers did was they placed Terrence Mitchell on the injury reserve list. The 49ers had just signed Terrence Mitchell recently, Mitchell out of Sacramento. And so he goes on IR. Anthony Everett gets signed to a 1-year deal. Everett was originally drafted by the Ravens in the 4th round of 2018. He's been in 5 years. He was with the Ravens from 2018 to 2021. He spent last year in Vegas with the Raiders. He's played 57 games, 27 starts, 95 tackles, 23 passes defense, 3 interceptions. And he's from Alabama. And so we'll see how that goes. The good thing here is this is a guy who's been around the NFL. He'll be able to step in. Mitchell, you could tell, like with Mitchell, as soon as he showed up, you could tell he wasn't a rookie. You could tell that he had been around. He looked good. So if Everett can come in and kind of play at that type of level, that'll be a good thing for the Niners. I just don't see this as being somebody that's going to make the roster. It's going to be a real uphill climb when you have Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Samuel Womack, Deshaun Jameson, and so on with this group with the 49ers at cornerback, Isaiah Oliver in the slot. They have a lot of really good cornerbacks on this team, and there's a lot of good depth in the defensive back room. So we'll see the direction that this takes, but I don't foresee that being something. I don't see Everett being a guy who's going to make the roster. Let's just put it that way. Short story, Trey never got a first down today. One bad short. No, that's not true, Michael. He got a first down today. If we go back and we look at his numbers, um, he did pick up the first down on the third and short situation. On the third and short situation, he had a completion to Brandon Ayuk that I talked about. So they picked up the first down there. They just didn't pick up the first down in the move the ball situation. And to your point, that is something that he struggled with last year. The Flyers offense struggled a lot early in camp last year with moving the ball in those periods. So I get where you're coming from, but overall, I feel like he's playing at a much better level. The ball is here's the thing when it comes to Trey Lance, the ball is coming out of his hand better. More often than not, it's getting to the right spots. I do think um, there's some struggles in terms of timing that he still needs to deal with, that he needs to get better at. Um, but overall, I think he's been doing pretty good. I think he and Sam Darnold are pretty much neck and neck. You know, if you asked me after day three, I would have said that I did say after day three that I felt like Darnold had taken a little bit of a lead over Lance in terms of that second quarterback spot. I felt like over the last couple of days, you had Lance getting to that same level, maybe a little bit ahead. Today, it's a little bit of, I think, a pretty even day for both. Those guys are right neck and neck. And I think for Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, I want to see some separation from one of those two. We'll get into Sam Darnold's day here right now coming up. Let's get to it. Let's get to, well, yeah, I mean, Michael, I don't need to keep telling everybody. Everybody that watches the show knows that, well, that's not true because I wouldn't have to have made the comment that I did in the beginning if everybody knew it. But we'll get to that in a few minutes. So Sam Darnold, let's get to Sam Darnold. Let's look at his day. Remember, yesterday was a bad day for Sam Darnold. Just 2 of 6 in Tuesday's practice. He had a nice bounce back day today. The veteran hit 6 of 8. Did a nice job of moving the offense down the field late in practice. Really, when it comes to the move the ball period, Sam Darnold's move the ball period with the second team offense was the best move the ball period of the three. It was the smoothest, the cleanest, very reminiscent of like Jimmy Garoppolo moving the offense down the field back in 2021 when he was in the competition with Trey Lance. And it was just effective. Boom, boom, boom. You look at the day. As for what happened with Darnold, opened it up, had an easy screen to Charlie Warner. That was his first throw of the day. Easy. Then he had a couple of nice throws on curls. One of them to Brandon Ayuk, the other to rookie Ronnie Bell. The Ronnie Bell one's interesting because Ronnie Bell, before practice a couple of days ago, had not even been targeted. And then this was on Monday's practice. He hadn't been targeted at all. Sam Darnold targeted him 3 times. Now today, he connects with Bell, gets another one from Sam Darnold. It seems like the only guy that throws the ball to Ronnie Bell is Sam Darnold. And then you look at the short yardage situation we've talked about, and this is one where it didn't work out for Darnold. He wasn't able to connect with Braden Willis on this one. It was play action, booting out to his left. Willis kind of got caught up with the defender, which disrupted his route. My vision of the play got blocked a little bit, but the pass was definitely behind Willis. It kind of looked like the defender was in the way of the route, and so the only place to throw the ball was behind him too, though. So it was one of those where I think if we're watching the film, we'd have a much clearer picture of exactly what happened. But I think it's an incompletion. It's one of those incompletions. It's not a bad incompletion from the standpoint of it's not a bad play. He didn't make a bad play by throwing it into the coverage, if that makes sense. But still, incompletion nonetheless. Then you move into the move the ball period, and this is where Darnold really showed up. He was money on this. Started at their own 35. First play of the series, Darnold ripped a throw down the field to Danny Gray for a gain of 21. It was play action, over route from left to right. Gray went up and got it, put the ball in a good, it was a little high. If he had put it on him, this is a bigger play. If he had made an accurate throw, it's a bigger play. But it was still a really nice chunk play of 21 yards. Then they had a short run. Then you have play action with Darnold getting the ball to rookie tight end Cameron Latu in the right flat off of that play action boot. That's a gain of 15. So you get another chunk play. They come back from that, a little play action out to the left side with a 6-yard completion to Danny Gray. Now the Flyers offense gets down to the 18-yard line. They're in the red zone, and they try to get Braden Willis on a seam route. He's on the left side, aligned on the left side, running a seam route, and that's a throw that's going to be high anyway. You're usually on those seams. You're throwing those little seams like from the 8, like in that red zone. A lot of times those balls are going to be more up in this area. But he sailed it. Just sailed it. I think he was trying to get it here, got it up over the top. Willis wasn't able to make a play on that. The ball was just too high, and that was the end of the day for Sam Darnold. So 6 of 8 overall, too high on the throw to Willis. Another throw behind Willis. You look at who he's throwing the ball to. Braden Willis. He's throwing it to Charlie Warner. He's throwing it to Ronnie Bell. He did have the one to Ayuk. Then he also was throwing the ball out there to guys like Danny Gray. We'll talk about Danny Gray a little bit more in a minute. I already talked about Brandon Allen. Allen not taking any snaps. He was out on the field today. He went through all over the workout with the quarterbacks, but he did not take a snap during team. That's the first time that I think that has not happened at all for Brandon Allen. So maybe we're seeing a change, because typically all 4 quarterbacks will get snaps. It was a shorter practice today. That could be one excuse. But in days like this, when we had a shorter day a couple of days ago, we saw Brandon Allen get a couple of reps. So that was a part of the day there with Allen. Yeah, you break it. Come on, East Coast Red and Gold podcast. I don't know if that's you, Jess. You're catching my thunder. Mitchell has an abductor strain. Yeah, I was going to get to all the injuries. Mitchell out for about a week or so with an abductor strain. Jalen Moore out for about a week or so with the knee bruise. Concussion deal for your left guard, Aaron Banks. John Feliciano, might as well get into that one as well. He hasn't practiced for a couple of days. He's got a shoulder injury, but Kyle Shanahan says he thinks he's going to be back tomorrow. Drake Jackson, Gav wants to know how Drake Jackson's looking. He's looking okay. I think one of the things that's hard for us is that they're not actually tackling right now. They're not actually making sacks. I'm going to talk about that in a second. He's playing well. He looks like he's moving really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like when we get out to Vegas. And he's taking on some other people. And we'll see how it goes. But I think he does look good. I think the 49ers could help themselves by going out and getting themselves another defensive end, another pass rusher. Gav wants to know if there's any issues with the O-line. And so let's get into this one. Let me skip over some people. Let me talk about this one, because Gav asked this question, and I'm going to tell you this. We had this conversation throughout training camp last year. There was a lot of hand-wringing going on. Oh, what's going on with this offensive line? Oh, my God, what is happening? That was constant. And then you got into the games, Flyers end up with like the 5th or 6th best offensive line in the NFL when it comes to pass protection, right? I will say this, the issues to talk about the stuff with the offensive line, one of the things you guys have to remember, and I don't report a lot on sacks. I don't talk about a lot of sacks, because they're not sacking quarterbacks. And the people that are talking about sacks, every once in a while, I'll talk about a sack, and that's because it's really clear that it was going to be a sack because somebody had a free run and he's going to be there. But beyond that, a lot of times what's happening is the reports that you're seeing from training camp, from people, it's like pass interference. It's what they thought happened. It's a judgment play. It's not like we can rewind the tape and we can see what happened. They're making a judgment based off of a blank, boom, boom kind of thing. Like I saw one person today put out 7 of 10 for Brock Purdy, 6 of 9, for Brock Purdy. The only way you can get the 6 of 9 is if you took away one of his throws because you felt like it was a sack. And I didn't feel like there was one. There was one play today where the person standing next to me mentioned to me, oh, that would have been a sack, but then it was like, not really, because the guy was behind the quarterback. And so it kind of, some of the stuff depends on where you're standing. It's not, remember, we don't have access to the video. So I just don't buy a lot of it. The offensive line, I think, is looking pretty good. And let's get into today's in particular really quick. There's a couple of guys, like I said, you did not have Trent Williams, he was out. You did not have Jalen Moore, he was out. The 49ers are down to their third offensive lineman, Leroy Watson. Leroy Watson, for those of you who don't know, was a tight end in college. He went to UT San Antonio with Spencer Burford. They were teammates at UT San Antonio. He was a tight end there. He's transitioning to play tackle in the NFL. With Trent Williams out, with Jalen Moore out, Watson steps into the starting lineup, and I thought he looked really good. He was going against all the best pass rushers that the 49ers have to offer because Nick Bosa is not in training camp, and he held up very well in pass protection. He won his one-on-one matchup repeatedly. There was a couple of times, there was one play in particular where he was up against Kerry Hyder, and he took Kerry Hyder and he ran him so far around the quarterback it wasn't, Hyder decided he was going to speed rush him, and Leroy Watson said, okay, let's go for a ride. And he just took him around the edge, and Brock Purdy had a clean pocket and was able to deliver. He did really well. I thought, Leroy Watson, it was a really good day for him. And is he going to be able to keep that up? That's the question. And we're going to be able to see that. I think Trent Williams will be back tomorrow. So it might not be with the starters, but with Moore out, we should be able to see Watson playing against the twos. And the more reps he gets, the better the opportunity is. This is his opportunity now to show that he can back up today's performance and stack days together, which is what the 49ers say all the time. The other one, Jason Poe, Aaron Banks injured. Jason Poe into the starting lineup. A lot of people have been asking about Jason Poe anyway because they remember his great workout videos from last year and all those different types of things. He steps in there at left guard today, and he more than held his own. Did a good job in pass protection as well, just like Leroy Watson did. Also did a good job of getting movement in the run game. So both of those two doing a very good job along the offensive line. The rest of that group, they're good. I'm telling you, Colton McKivitz, he's going to be a player that's not going to be any worse than what you got from Mike Gucci. In some ways, he might be better. Spencer Burford, he looks like he's better. Jake Brendel, these guys are all those interior guys all coming back for year two in terms of starting. 49ers offensive line is a worry, I guess, but it's not one to really be thinking too much about. I like the question, though, Gav. I appreciate it. It was perfect. You set me up to get into that topic anyway. I wanted to talk about the offensive line and the play of those guys. So really nice question. I appreciate that one. If there's any other questions, guys, let me know. I don't have my mouse today, so I got to keep going back to my computer a little bit more than I usually do. Let me see. Let's get back to where we were. So that's the offensive line stuff. We talked about who stood out there. Now let's go ahead and let's get into some of the specialist guys, right? We talked about the quarterbacks. We talked about the offensive line. Brandon Ayuk. When it comes to Brandon Ayuk, he's been the star of training camp. If there was a most valuable player training camp award there now, that would go to Brandon Ayuk. Today he was targeted 6 times, the most of any 49ers receiver, running back, tight end. He's clearly been the focal point of the offense, and he just continues to make it play after play. Today he and Purdy connected on 3 of their 4 targets, 2 of those coming on tight throws over the middle. So really good stuff out of Brandon Ayuk. Ronnie Bell, I talked about him a few minutes ago with the fact that he's only been targeted 4 times. He's caught all 4 of those. And the only quarterback who's actually thrown the ball to Ronnie Bell this training camp when it comes to team periods has been Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold's found success with going there. So that's kind of just a little interesting side note. But Ronnie Bell is one of those fringe guys, not getting very much run. We're seeing a lot more of Tate Martin than Ronnie Bell. So that's going to be a really interesting position to see what happens for the 49ers at the back end of their wide receiver room if they decide to keep an extra guy. Danny Gray. I haven't talked much about Danny Gray, and I really should it because Gray has been, I think, one of the most improved second-year players especially in terms of their draft picks from last year. He's a 3rd-round pick, and he just looks stronger, and he's begun making the type of plays that a lot of us thought he was going to make when the selection was made last year. Today you had him going up, getting that big catch like I talked about for 21 yards. You had him, showing off his versatility with a little shorter route, catching it, turning up the sidelines for a gain of 7. You've seen him make really strong just hands catches where, he's running a curl and he's got to get his hands up here because the ball's high and he's getting hit from behind, but he's able to just snag that thing with just his hands on hard throws and things like that. So Danny Gray, really like what we're seeing there. And I think right now, if I was making the depth chart for the 49ers, if I was the coach coming here to tell you what that depth chart would look like, I would say it's going to be Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ray McLeod, Danny Gray is your fifth wide receiver. Then it depends on if they're going to keep Bell, Martin, one of those guys. If they want to go to six, who's that six going to be? Is it going to be the undrafted free agent from last year? Is it going to be the seventh rounder from this year? What do you want to do there? I think those are your top seven receivers in camp, and it's just a matter of if they want to take five or if they want to take six. You know, they're not going to take seven for sure, but you know, there's going to be a guy or two as well that's going to end up on this practice squad that'll probably be elevated to the active roster at some time. Jordan Mason too, right? Jordan Mason's a back who a back who last year, you know, kind of made a name for himself with the way that he played, undrafted free agent coming in and all that stuff. He's continued to have a strong camp this year. Today I talked about it. Offense was facing 2nd and 15 during their move the ball period. This is the first team offense. Comes up with a couple of big plays. Because it's 2nd and 15, they're like, hey, let's make this third manageable. So they run a draw play. He picks up 5. Now you're sitting at 3rd and 10, catches the check down from Purdy, turns it up, gains 11, first down. Good stuff from Jordan Mason. You're continuing to see him grow as a running back. And on top of that, Elijah Mitchell out right now with that abductor strain. That opens the door for Jordan Mason to step up. That opens the door up for TDP to step up. That opens the door for the undrafted free agents that they brought in, like Kalen LeBourne, to step up. And Kalen LeBourne today had a couple of really nice plays. One of them in particular was a draw of his own where he just reaved through the defense. He was untouched. There was another one where they threw a little pass to him and he made the guys miss. I mean, Kalen LeBourne looked really good. He looked really explosive today. I think it's a long shot probably for him to make the roster, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to be somebody that's going to stand out during training camp or somebody that's going to stand out during the preseason games. The 49ers are loaded on this roster and they have really good running backs throughout, and Kalen LeBourne really showing that today. How about them Niners? Says Jack, your favorite player, Mr. Coletto. Heard they love him and don't think he'll make it to the practice squad. Could he make it to the 53? I think it's a long shot. That's a real long shot there for him to make it to the 53, because they're not going to want to have 2 fullbacks on their roster, right? The way that it happens, though, if it does happen, is that the 49ers keep him on the 53 originally because they want to get him to the practice squad, but they don't want to cut him and then have to worry about another team picking him up. So instead, what they do is they keep him on the active roster. They bring him onto the 53. There's another player somewhere that they think they can sneak through and then sign later, because then once that original cut down day goes and things start to happen, then you can sometimes sneak a guy back onto the practice squad. I think for Coletto, if he makes the initial 53, that's the way that happens. But I don't think there's a way that Coletto makes the 53 and then sticks on the 53. Doesn't mean that he's not a really good player. Doesn't mean that the 49ers don't like him. Doesn't mean the 49ers don't even, doesn't even mean the 49ers don't love him. They could love him, but you can't have 2 fullbacks on your team unless the 49ers decide to go short at tight end, that type of thing. That's another way. You keep 2 of those guys because you go short at tight end because you know that Kyle Juszczyk can be a de facto type of a tight end for you. Going back to my pal Gav's questions earlier about this. So definitely heard it. I just don't think he makes the 53, but he is a terrific player. There's a lot of good things there to look at. And like longtime 49ers fan says, great to hear about the 49ers O-line depth. And they do have a lot of depth. It's being tested right now. And the fact that it's early August, it's good that it's being tested. Let these guys get a bunch of reps. That's the main thing. Let's see what else we've got. Yeah, I know. 49ers Empire, a lot of times when I can stand up and talk, or when I'm these types of things after practice, you get me going, and I get pretty excited. So definitely a lot more animated on my YouTube shows and these kind of things than I am when I'm sitting down. I'm here, I'm standing up, and I feel like I can turn around. I wish I had a chalkboard behind me and I could draw out plays and all that kind of stuff. Maybe one of these days. All I'm going to say today, let me just add this about the quarterback position around the 49ers, because you guys keep bringing up other content creators and what they're saying. And I'm going to say this. Listen to what the 49ers have said Listen to what Adam Schefter said, because what Adam Schefter said, I didn't hear it originally. I saw somebody tweet about it. I went back and I listened to it. And I agree with what Adam Schefter said. And whatever member of the 49er staff he talked to, whoever was with the 49ers that said, what are you talking about when it came to this question about struggles for Brock Purdy? I got a question. If there is somebody who is telling you, if you're hearing, and I'm not calling any particular person out, but this is something that I've heard from a lot of different sources. There's every time I put something on Twitter, I'd say, bro, this guy said this guy said that. Brock Purdy has been the best quarterback in 49ers training camp every day except for the first day that he's been out there. He's been on the field 5 days. 4 of those 5, he has been the best. If you don't think he's been the best, you don't know what the hell you're watching. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not a good person. It just means you don't understand what you're watching. He's been very good. Has he been perfect? Hell no. But he's been very good. And that's really what it comes out to be at the end of the day. He's just been very good. And when it comes to this whole quarterback thing, Trey Lance makes a lot of people on YouTube money, and I will leave it at that. And let's get back to where we were in terms of the show, because I've said enough about content creators today on Twitter and here. I should probably just shut up and focus on my show. Braden Willis, he continues to be the better of the 2 rookie tight ends that the 49ers have. 49ers drafted Willis in the later rounds. Lot 2 they took in the 3rd round, but Willis has been the guy who keeps getting the targets. He was targeted 4 times, he's caught just 1. 2 of those 3 incompletions were just due to bad throws. One from Lance. That's a bad throw from Lance that was down low that he couldn't get to. The bad throw from Darnold that was back here. And then the 3rd was the throwaway from Lance. And I'm not sure if there might have been a mistake that would cause it because of Willis maybe had made a mistake there. But still, he got 4 targets today. Cameron Latu, Latu's been quiet as a receiver in this camp. Today, stood up for a second. He was able to catch a ball from Sam Darnold off of play action, little bootleg action, short throw, caught it, turned up the sidelines, a gain of 15. One of the things I've noticed about Cameron Latu during camp so far is that he's been a pretty good route runner. You go back to the one-on-ones that they work with the tight ends, he was working against Jair Brown. Remember Jair Brown, the other guy the 49ers traded up for in the 3rd round? In the one-on-ones working together, he's beaten Jair Brown 2 times. The 2 times that I've seen him go against, he's won the rep, except for the first time he dropped it. Second time, the ball was overthrown. He had a bad drop the other day from Sam Darnold. Today, made the catch, nice completion, nice gain. So good to see Cameron Latu step up. I think the potential is there for Cameron Latu, but at the same time, this is a guy that's coming from Alabama, and at times it kind of feels like it's almost like he's been cruising through camp, if that makes sense. And I hate to kind of put those kind of things on players, but it just doesn't look like the intensity has been there all the time. And that's kind of one of the things, when you're dropping balls all the time, that's a focus issue, right? Receivers, tight ends dropping the ball, either they're not good or it's a focus issue. I'm going to lean for Latu towards the focus side of it. We'll see how it goes. It might just prove by the end of the camp that he's just not good, but I think he's better than what he's showing so far, just based off some of the glimpses in terms of his route running ability and those types of things. So we'll see where Latu goes from here. But today was a decent day in terms of his ability to finally make a big positive impact for the offense. Let's put this thing over the defensive side, because there's some names over there that people have wanted to hear about. In particular, Jair Brown, right? Everybody's been wanting to know about Jair Brown, what's going on there. When we get into Jair Brown, I think the biggest thing, and I'm going to get to your comment in a second, Gav, because I want to answer that because I think that's a good one. But when we look at where Jair Brown is right now, he's not a guy that's showing up. I haven't talked a lot about him. And I think part of that is because they're not tackling right now. I haven't seen Jair Brown really make plays on the ball in the passing game. They're throwing the ball around him. He's missed a couple of tackles and those kind of things, but he hasn't made that big splash play in the secondary from a interception, pass breakup kind of a situation. But I'll say this: he shows up in the run game a lot. And like today, there was a couple of times where he was in the hole, sitting there ready to make the tackle. He's come up from his safety spot. He's there, but they don't tackle, right? And so he's there. He's ready to make the tackle. Then the running back cuts and he lets him cut because that's what they do in camp. They get to the spot, but they're not necessarily wrapping up because that's not what they're asking them to do. And I really feel like I said, like I felt like today there was a couple of times we saw Brown do that, and I think Brown's going to be a guy who, as this thing plays out, we're going to see him when we get down to Las Vegas. When we get to that point where they start to do this for real, I think we're going to see Jair Brown. That's something Charvarius Ward, by the way, said in his press conference after practice today. He said he's looking forward to that. This guy's a dog, all those types of things, and I do think that Brown's going to be a guy that's going to be more of a gamer than what we're seeing in practice right now. He's kind of like in position, but just not making the plays like the splash interceptions and that kind of stuff. I want to get to this one really quick. Somebody asked me also about Dwelly and Werner. Werner caught a pass today. That's a good thing. It was a little screen, but hey, he held on to it, so that's a good thing. Ross Dwelly is Ross Dwelly. Not the fastest guy. He's not big after the catch, but he wins. He does well on his routes. Has great, really nice hands. I think Dwelly and Werner are both in a fight for their roster spots with the rookies. Didn't really see much out of either of them today. Dwelly took over for George Kittle. George Kittle sat out today, but I didn't see the ball go to Ross Dwelly today at all. Charlie Werner though caught a screen from Sam Darnold early in the practice, picked up a couple of yards off of that, and that's really it for those two. So Ross Dwelly is a guy who I like. I think he's a nice player. If the Flyers keep 4 tight ends, I'd rather see the Flyers keep Ross Dwelly over Charlie Werner, especially if they keep both of the rookies. Really quick, before I get past this, I want to say the Notorious Gav says Jack's got a new structure to the channel. Not so many lives. I'm more interested to see if Jack will continue doing his live breakdowns of the games. Yeah, I will 100% be doing my live shows after the games, those live breakdowns post game that I do. Will for sure be doing my live film breakdowns after a couple days after the games, all those kind of things. The live shows maybe during the week, maybe not so much. I think the shorter kind of news clips types of things works out really good for the channel and for my time management as well. And I think people like to be able to tune in and just watch a 5-minute update on a topic instead of having to watch for an hour and fast forward and rewind to try to get to something within there that they want to hear. So I promise you're still going to be getting those live breakdowns after the game. You're still going to be getting those live film reviews. You're going to be getting some of those things, probably even a pregame show like we were doing in the past. The at stadium experience is going to be the same. It's just that in between during the middle of the week. I haven't really solidified that yet, but I just wanted to let you know that. Let everybody else on the channel know that as well. So I really enjoy doing the work by myself. I like to be able to share my thoughts and opinions with you. I do like working with other folks one-on-one. That's why I do the work that I do with Larry Kruger. That's why I did the show yesterday with Rob Guerra. He's really good, by the way. I think Rob, just one of the best hosts that I've worked with, and he's a smart guy as well. But the way he set me up in our show yesterday to talk and the back and forth between the two of us was a lot of fun. So it's just a matter of kind of picking and choosing, trying to do the best that I can to bring you the best 49ers content in the most manageable way possible, and also make sure that I'm doing what I need to do at home as well with my family and those types of things. That's where all that comes from. But I really appreciate that question, Gav, and I appreciate the positive comments on the film breakdowns and all that kind of stuff. Now, so we talked about Jair Brown. Not done yet. I got one more that I got to talk about. This is a rookie, another one I think you guys are going to want to hear about. And this is D. Winters, right? D. Winters, the linebacker that the 49ers took, the first of the 2 linebackers that they took in the draft. And he's the guy that I was not high on during the offseason program. But since they put the pads on, since they got here to training camp, D. Winters has just done this. He's gone up. He just continues to step up his game. Today, he is the guy who picked off Trey Lance. And it was a really nice play. He drops back into coverage, gets into his zone. As Kyle Shanahan said, he was the hooker on that play. That means he's dropping hook to curl in terms of his drop. So he dropped into that hook zone, got that nice depth, and Trey Lance tried to throw it over the top of him. He got up high, snagged that ball out of the air just with his hands, really nice, and took off in the other direction. I wasn't going to say it's a pick six because I don't know. It wasn't one of those types of things because Trey Lance is a pretty fast guy, and there's a couple of fast backs that were back there as well that could have brought him down. So who knows what would have happened there? But I got to say, it was a really nice play by D. Winters, the hooker, as Kyle Shanahan called him in his post-practice press conference. Was able to get back, get up, get the pick, and take it the other direction. So really good to see that. D. Winters coming along really nicely. The 49ers linebackers have been really good. You know, a lot of talk about that possession. You've got Warner and Greenlaw. Greenlaw didn't practice today. He had a vet day. That meant that you had a lot of Marcelino McCurry ball, who continues to step up and make plays, continues to show up at the ball. Oren Burks continues to be a guy who looks good in that position as well, getting up there, making plays. D. Winters, Jalen Graham, a little bit more on the quiet side in terms of playmaking and those types of things. But the 49ers linebackers are looking really good. Secondary, deep safeties. We didn't have Tayshaun Gibson today. He was out. It was a vet day for Tayshaun Gibson as well. So in his place today was George Odom. Odom is a nice safety that can definitely fill in that spot. So he took the spot today for Tayshaun Gibson. That's one of those other things that wasn't noted because it wasn't an injury thing. It was just a day off for Gibson. So that's it for the show for today. Really quick before I go, I haven't even told you guys to make sure you like anything. But if we go back through the the day, like I said, you have Brock Purdy 7 of 10. You have Trey Lance 5 of 8 with the interception. You have Sam Darnold 6 of 8. Those are your quarterbacks. And this just isn't nice. This one right here, 49 Empire, that just isn't nice. He says Jack's been doing radio broadcasting since before the invention of electricity. Come on, man. I'm old, but I'm not that old. They've had electricity, and it's not like I'm lighting my candle. I haven't never lit my candle at night to make sure I can make my way to bed. No, but that's a good one. I like that. If you guys can do me a favor before you leave today, I want you to do 3 things. Number 1, slam that like button for me. The more likes these shows get, the better. It helps the amplify the signal and those types of things. Also, if you can do me a good favor, if you're watching this and you're already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Once you subscribe to the channel, also turn on your notifications. Turning on the notifications is going to help you all the time, especially during training camp, because I'm not consistent on the time that I'm going live. Also, if I just upload videos or I send out a new short, it'll notify you of all those so that you don't miss any of the updates right here. This is Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And we look at this. Backups, Brock Purdy number 1, Trey Lance number 2, Sam Darnold number 3. We'll see how it all works out. But guys, hit that like button. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be talking soon. Have a great everybody. Talk to you soon. Take care.